Every day we're getting a clearer picture of exactly who this young man was, someone caught between the Western world and the wealth illustrated by this expensive London apartment building where he lived and his own deeply held religious beliefs. From son of privilege in Nigeria to top international boarding schools to college in London to al-Qaeda trained terrorist, Umar Farouk Abdulmutallab seemed an unlikely terror recruit.
He was a very personable boy, so he could have gone into politics. He could have been the president of Nigeria.
But there were early signs of trouble. By high school, he was already well known for his extreme religious views. In online chat rooms between 2005 and 2007, under the name Farouk 1986, he spoke of lacking a true Muslim friend and being depressed and lonely, and warned, "I think this loneliness leads me to other problems." It's not a news story. Well-off, well-educated young men who become eager young radicals. Muhammad Atta, the 9/11 mastermind, was an engineering student from a middle-class family in Egypt. Nidal Hassan, the Fort Hood shooter, an army psychologist from Virginia. And Osama bin Laden himself, the son of a Saudi billionaire. Hanif Kadir is a former jihadi in London who now works to identify potential extremists.
Religion, is secondary to this. The more innocent civilians are going to die, in this war on terror, the more violent extremists and terrorist attacks I think the West's going to be exposed to.
The New York Police Department's counter-terror unit found that 80% of terror plots since 2004 were radicalized not in the Middle East, but in the West, and it identified consistent patterns. The majority of suspects begin as ordinary people with little, if any, criminal history. They generally start to radicalize on their own, often because they're looking for an identity and a cause, which they find in extremist Islam. There's also usually a trigger, such as losing a job or loved one, experiencing racism, or opposing wars which they see as targeting Muslims. And it's on the internet where the image of the heroic, holy warrior is glorified, and where they can meet like-minded radicals, a fact that has consistently frustrated U.S. officials.
It is just plain embarrassing that al-Qaeda is better at communicating its message on the internet than America.
Online, he spoke very openly about what he called a conflict between liberalism and extremism. In one posting, he spoke just as much about the fast food and shopping in Yemen as his own Arabic studies there. That conflict is not unusual, particularly for extremists who are brought up in the West, but unfortunately, Elizabeth, he made a very clear choice to take the path to terrorism.
The fast food and the shopping. Wow. Jim Sciutto, thanks so much for that report.